Hello? Oh, hi, how are you? I'm okay. Hello, and welcome to Knitwhim Podcast, episode 12. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2014, and I am Lindsay, also known as Knitwhim on Ravelry, and you can find me on my blog at arcanewhim.blogspot.com, or maybe it's Arcane Knits. I can't even remember my own blog website name today. That's how crazy my week has been. I like to plan things way far in advance. If anything is going to change in my life, it needs to be planned and documented, and I need to meditate on it and be okay with the change. I'm a creature of habit. I do things the same way. I've always done them over and over again. I need that consistency. So this week has been kind of bumpy for me. Last week, I was going to record a podcast episode. I still haven't decided 100% if I'm going to be bi-weekly or weekly. I feel like I usually have enough content to be weekly, but last week I sat down to write my show notes and I had absolutely nothing to show you. And I'm not cool enough, like some podcasters, to just wing it and talk about nothing. Random knitting related stuff that's not a work in progress. I'm not that cool. So I was just like, no, I'm not going to do it. I've been in a class for the past month, and Friday of last week was my last day of class. And so on Thursday, I went into work to double confirm, make sure that I knew what my schedule was and knew when they expected me to come back in. And they didn't expect me to be in until Wednesday. So I was like, great, that's awesome. We had a little Super Bowl get together, small, but some people. It was a lot of fun. I drank some, and Monday morning, I was woken up at 7 a.m. in the midst of my hangover by work, wanting to know why I wasn't there. So that was wonderful. I thought I was going to have Tuesday off work, and I had a whole bunch of plans for Monday and Tuesday. I was going to go to a gym and sign up for a gym membership on Monday. I was so pissed off. I was like, no, I'm not doing anything productive today. I'm not cleaning. I'm not going shopping for responsible things. I'm going to go to Amanda's house and pout. And that's what I did. And I've been complaining about my hair for a while, and so I cut it on Monday. So my hair was like long. It was like to here when it was wet, and it's curly, so it was a little shorter when it was dry. And I had to wear a uniform at work. And the rules are, if your hair is long, you have to pin it up. And you have to put it up in a bun of some kind or pin it up. You can wear it in braids, but they have to be tucked up. It can't be all over the place. And if you don't want to do that, it has to be shoulder length. It has to be it can't go below the base of the collar on the uniform. And so the reason I wanted to cut my hair was because my hair is really fragile, and putting it up in the friction of the rubber band, or it's not a rubber band, it's a cloth hairband, but still the friction rubs on the spot on my hair over and over again, and it frays it. So I have horrible dead ends, but at the middle of my hair. So I cut it shoulder length. It was pretty, and I had cut most of the bad stuff off, but it was still too long to wear in a bun, and so then I went to Amanda's house and had her cut it shorter because I at that point it was so short that I couldn't reach it myself in the back. When it was longer, I could just pull it like this and cut it myself, and I was confident doing that. It was fine, but the shorter it gets, the harder it is to be accurate. So that's what happened. It's a lot of change in one week. And I'm just adjusting. I'm working with completely different people. I'm sitting in a different spot at work. And maybe not a big deal to some people, but I'm not sitting at my normal desk, and I don't like it. So, whatever. It's crazy. I don't know. But yeah, I do have some stuff this week, so we'll do works in progress, or we'll do finished objects and works in progress, and then I have some enabling-ish stuff and some non-knitting or spinning. some other crafting, because that's what I'm all about. So I have one finished object, and it is my spinning for the, I always get this wrong, Completely Twisted and Arbitrary spinning group on Ravelry. There will be notes, show notes, on my blog, which I will post on the YouTube page, a link to the YouTube page. I sort of started to write my show notes and then was like, I'll write them after the podcast. So I don't have all the names of the pattern designers today, but they will be there. I will post it. So the Completely Twisted and Arbitrary group has spin-alongs where they pick a featured artist, a featured dyer, and then the dyer does a custom dye based on a theme, and then everyone buys the dyed fiber and spins it. And so the theme was something old, and the featured artist was Pigeon Roof Studios, and there were 3 different colorways. And one was sort of like teals and blues, and one was sort of lilac and grays and purples, and the other one was red. And so I went with the red one that was called Rusted Song, and there were a couple different options for fiber types, and so I got the mixed BFL silk blend, 4 ounces, because I had never spun a silk blend before, and I thought that sounded really interesting. And so it came in the mail on like a Friday, and I literally just sat on my reel and spun it. And it took me 2 days to spin it. I really liked the fiber. It was gorgeous. It felt wonderful. Spinning it was fun. It was weird. Normally I just do some kind of forward draw where like you hold the fiber and you're like pulling this way to draft. But I started doing this and doing like the backwards draw thing because the staple length was so long, and it was hard for me to pull it this way. It didn't want to come out, but if I did it this way, it was so much easier. I'd never done that before. I just sort of started doing it, and so my singles were a little bit thicker than normal, and they were a little bit less consistent. I think it would probably just take practice to be more consistent with that method, but I really enjoyed it. So here it is. Now that I've talked for that whole long time without you seeing it, I've tried to take pictures of it, and I know the video in general is washed out because of my horrible lighting today, but I cannot accurately photograph this at all. Either my photograph, because it's shiny. It is legit shiny, and so either my photographs are like what you're seeing right now is like super dull and gray and washed out, or if you go to my Ravelry page for this yarn, which there'll be a link in my blog, the pictures there are all like super saturated and over shiny, but the main color is like this rusted red, and it sort of reminds me of like the color of like a faded red barn. It's like it used to be bright red, but now it's sort of been sun weathered. And the second main color is this medium plum purple, and almost, it's barber pulled, but the dye on it was like super close, so when I was spinning, there would be 2 colors next to each other, and I would be spinning a barber pulled single, and so it's barber pulled twice. And I usually have like one red and then another color that's sort of, so it's like I have a lot of red, dark red, red purple, purple blue blended together like this here. So it's really pretty. I really like it. It ended up being 160 yards and about 14 wraps per inch. So it's kind of like DK. There are some fingering weight bits, and there are a couple of worsted weight spots. Spots. It's 2-ply. I split it in half lengthwise and spun it that way. After seeing Amanda's, because she got the superwash merino of the same colorway, I wish I had chain plied it, because it's gorgeous the way it is, but I like hers better. It's still pretty. I haven't decided what I'm going to make with it yet. Yarn Harlot just recently did a cowl that looks like a triangle scarf that I might try, but the yardage would be a really tight fit. I might not have enough yardage. The other option I was thinking about doing is, it's silk, so it's like super not stretchy at all or bouncy. I was thinking about doing a headband. and wearing it as a headband in my hair. Now that I have short hair. But I don't know if it would make a good headband because it's not stretchy at all. Sorry, that's my rice cooker. I'm making rice and ginger salmon for dinner tonight. The recipe is from the Budget Bites website, which is it's really good. You should try it. Budget Bites with a Y. Anyway, I'll eat that later. Oh, I have to talk fast so I can eat. So that's my finished object. And the reason I don't have any other finished objects is because I have like 9 projects going at once. And I cannot like focus on one project. And usually that doesn't stress me out. I always have like 4 or 5 is normal number of projects for me. But usually I have I'm tired and just want to knit project, and an I'm bored and want something complicated project, and a cuddling with my husband on the couch project, i.e. garter stitch. So usually those projects, each one has a designated time when I knit them, so I really only have one project for each situation. But now I just have all kinds of crazy projects competing for the same type of knitting environment. And I don't really like it. I'm becoming more and more like I want to just focus on one project. But then I do crazy things like I finished the Tintacal knit along a few weeks back, and that was my only lace project at the time. And I love lace, and I think I have an addiction. I can't not have a lace project going. I feel kind of like I get anxiety attacks maybe. So I started this project like a week and a half ago or something, and literally I cast on and did like 3 or 4 rows, and I haven't touched it since. This is going to be the Ictus shawl, and I think the designer is Boo Knits, but I will correct if that is wrong. I'm pretty sure it's right though. And I don't know what size the needles are. It's the Dreamin' Color Wisp yarn in the colorway Shy, and I got this in the Atlanta Shop Hop in September last year. And if you don't know, I wasn't video blogging at the time. Maybe I was. I didn't. I did a couple of blog posts on my blog about the Atlanta Shop Hop. It was kind of cool. There were 9 shops, and you had to go to each one and buy yarn, and they would stamp your book if you bought yarn, and you got entered to win stuff. It was a lot of fun. Atlanta is like 3 hours from where I live, so we tried to hit all 9 stores in one day, and it was an epic adventure. We were so close to not making it. We had to call a store and ask them to stay open like 30 minutes past closing so that we could make our last stop. It was intense. So yeah, so I still have yarn from that. So I'm really glad that I got to do that, and it's kind of cool to have all this yarn with memories attached to it, and I haven't even knit it yet. So, and I bought that yarn specifically for that pattern, and it's been sitting there since September saying, knit me. So that's why I cast it on and then quickly forgot about it. I'm still working on the Best Little Star blanket, and part of why I'm recording today and not like Monday or yesterday, although Monday was special, is because I was kind of hoping I would have finished this in time for the next post. I'm on my last row, so I have this dark blue is my last row, but I'm not done. I've done like, it's a star, it's got 5 points like this, and I've done like 3.5 of the points. So I'm torn because I kind of want this blanket to be a surprise for the recipient, except she already knows about it and she's already seen it. So, yay, surprise! It's not really a surprise. But yeah, after I finish this row, it's not, the only other thing I have to do is weave in all of the ends. But I think it's going to be a nice size. Baby blankets always make me a little nervous because I'm never sure if they're going to be big enough. Like, you want it to be big enough that it covers the blank baby, and you don't want it to be like this tiny little square, but you don't want it to be like so big that it's, you know, it's not a blanket for a queen size bed or something. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm like pulling out stitches while I'm holding this. Ugh. The blessing and the curse of crochet. So easy to pull out stitches. So that's that work in progress. Oh, I have one other work in progress right now. It's a spinning work in progress. And technically I have 2 spinning works in progress because when I bought my wheel, I got a whole bunch of fiber, and I haven't spun it all yet. And what I'm working on my wheel right now is this 8 ounces of mixed BFL. So it's BFL and it's super fluffy. And it's like natural colors, but they're marled. So it's like a dark brown and sort of like a off-whitish cream color together, and they go together. So when I'm spinning it, it's like a marled gray and brown. I'm spinning it, but I'm not working on it a whole lot, and I'm too lazy to go get it. So my other work in progress, and I haven't even done one bobbin yet, and it's 8 ounces. So my other work in progress is I'm spinning cotton again. So at the same time that I bought my wheel in August last year, I bought a little spindle from Hip Strings. Oh, I should write that down so I add her name to the list of people. Sorry, if I don't do this right now, I'll forget. And she's awesome. I don't want to forget her. I bought her spindle from Etsy, and she does, it's a Time Lord spindle. So this is there are different sizes, and this one's the Mistral, and it's got this Time Lord design on it. And I really wanted to learn how to spin cotton because when I moved to Georgia, I was like, you know what would be fun? What if I grew my own cotton and spun it? And I wanted to spin enough to knit a tank top because I'm crazy. Fortunately, I'm sane enough to know that I should try spinning cotton first before getting involved. And I'm glad I did because I'm not doing that yet. It's not happening. But I'm enjoying it. I got 4 ounces, 1 ounce each of different natural colors from Hip String as well when I got the spindle. And I started with this dark charcoal gray. And there's a learning curve involved. So the first bit was not that pretty, and I stopped mostly because my wheel was more fun. But then I was on the forum Spindle Candy, where they just post amazing pictures of spindles. So if you want nice spindles and you want to be jealous of other people, go there. And there is a contest going on there. It's a pack it on contest. And so you have to post a picture of your empty spindle and the fiber you're going to spin. And then the contest is to see how much you can pack onto one spindle. Just really overstuff it. And then once you can't get any more on, you have to wind it off and count the yardage of the single. And there's no way I should be doing this because I have too many other projects. But the prize is a custom spindle from a spindle designer, and I can't remember his name right now, but the Etsy name is FW Aussie Spindles, and there will be a link in the show notes. And they're very pretty, and it was tempting, so I'm doing it. And I'm kind of glad I did, because I'm enjoying spinning. It's not as frustrating as it was the last time I did it, and it looks a lot better. It's still thick and thin. It's not super consistent. I don't have a focusing on my camera. I'm just trying to see where the light is best. It's not super consistent, but it's significantly more consistent than the charcoal. And because you had to start with an empty spindle, and because the charcoal was already mostly ruined anyway, I just took the charcoal off and was like, I'll start fresh with a completely different color. Because I'd already spun half of the ounce of the charcoal. So it's way more consistent than my charcoal was, and the average thickness is way thinner than the charcoal. Because when I was spinning the charcoal, like my thickest part of this spinning was like my thinnest part in the charcoal. So I'm really happy. I don't know if I'm packing it on correctly because I see a lot of photos of people doing a lot of wildly different things, and there's a difference between having your own style and doing things the right way. So I don't really know if those are all legitimate, correct ways to do it, or whether some of those people are wrong. So I'm just doing whatever, and I know I'm doing something wrong because I'm sort of like making it big and then going up. And so like up here is all like loose and floofy, and I plan on going higher up the spindle, which means like there's like this hollow bit here. So I'm like, I don't think it's the best way to do it, but that's what I did. So it's a learning experience, and I'm seeing a lot of other people spin, and they're discussing how to pack stuff on more. So hopefully I'll learn more tips and tricks as I go. And these people are super talented. A lot of these women, I think a lot of the women participating exclusively spin on spindles, and they're just so talented and amazing, and they've been doing it for a lot longer than me. So it's nice to see and to participate. I sort of stalk some of the other threads on the forums, but I've been too shy to participate because they all seem to know each other really well. But that's a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying that quite a bit. What else do I have in works in progress? Okay, so I have a non-fiber related work in progress. So on Monday was a bad day for me. And I went and hung out with Amanda, and we did a lot of fun stuff. We sat on her couch and crafted various things, and we watched King of the Nerds and Face Off. And then we talked about sewing, and we ended up going both to Hancock Fabrics and to Joann Fabrics. Oh my gosh, fiber brain. And I bought some stuff, not knitting or yarn related. So I want to learn how to quilt. Sorry. And so I bought a starting quilting set. It came with this giant board that's huge, and it came with this equally splendid ruler and plop. Sorry about that. And a rotary blade. And I think the price was like originally $54 or something, but it was on sale and I got it for $36, which I think is a pretty sweet deal because my sewing scissors were like 25 bucks. So pretty cool. And I've never actually used a rotary cuttery before. And before I started looking into quilting, I thought people still use scissors to cut out all those pieces. And I started reading on the quilting blogs that they don't do that anymore. They use this. It's like a pizza cutter, for those of you who don't know. And you put the ruler on the fabric, and then you put the cutter against the ruler, and you just roll across. And this is perfectly smooth, straight line. It's like using an X-Acto knife, only it rolls. And this one's kind of cool. I don't know if this is standard or not, but it has this safety on it so that you don't cut things. And there's a little flip to, I don't know if you can see that. It pulls it down and pushes it back up. And then this knob tightens and loosens so that it doesn't roll, and you have to untighten it so that it rolls. It's really cool. And the reason I got all that stuff is because I've been saying for my first quilting project I wanted to quilt pillowcase covers for like small, like throw covers for a couch, like throw pillows for a couch. So that way I could practice doing a bunch of simple quilting designs without buying a whole blanket's worth of fabric. And my husband really likes the 4th of July, so I wanted to do 4th of July themed ones. And they had 4th of July themed cat quarters at Hancock's, and so I got some. And I already took them apart, but here's some of the fabric. You have flag stuff, like this. And then you have some polka dots, stars, polka dots. I'm all about polka dots. More stars. And then the epic patriotic blue stuff. I like this one. It's my favorite. So I'm hoping to make several different pillowcases out of that. And Amanda got me started. She sat there and watched me cut some stuff because I'm challenged when it comes to straight lines. And she let me borrow this book. 50 quilt blocks. And I think she got this at a Goodwill. And it doesn't have like super detailed instructions for a beginner, but it has It has pictures of the different squares, and it doesn't have dimensions, so it doesn't tell you what size to cut them to, but it shows you the shapes, and you can sort of determine it on your own. Maybe there's like a standard obvious size that a quilter would just look and know, oh, of course it's supposed to be that, but I don't know what it is. And there are a bunch of different ones. So I don't know if I'm going to spend time trying to find the one I'm doing in here. I've picked one to do, and it makes sort of a star shape using square blocks that are triangles. Does that make sense? What I did was I took these two fabrics, America and Stars, and I cut them into triangles. And what I have, that's what I've got so far. This is my progress. And the next step is going to be to sew them together to form squares like this. And then you will sew the squares together to make a flower shape at some point. I think it'll look cute in like a really homey, patriotic way. And I'm going to do different things for different pillowcases, and I really want to do one that's got 4 small designs on one pillowcase, but that would have meant cutting out triangles that were even smaller than this, and I still have to sew this. And when you sew it, the seam allowance is going to eat some of the fabric, and it'll be the final square will be smaller than this. So I felt like for my first one it should not be such tiny squares. So yeah, that's exciting. Yay, as if I needed another hobby. And I also want to learn how to sew my own clothes. And so I got fabric from the remnants bin, which was super cheap. It was like $4 maybe. It's not enough to make a dress. I want to make a summer dress out of this, but I like need another yard at least. And so I'm thinking I'll make the skirt out of this, and I'm going to watch the remnants bin for coordinating fabric to make the bodice out of. So the bodice will be a solid color, and then it'll have this plaid skirt. Because I love plaid, and I don't know what this is called because I'm a fabric newbie, but it's got a texture to it. I don't know what it is. It's like, you know the summer dresses where the bust is like all bunched up? Somehow, that's what this feels like. It feels like a whole dress like that, only it's not elastic or anything like that. I really like it. So, that's exciting. Yay! More enabling. And this is free enabling, so yay! Well, free for me, not for you. I got a late Christmas present from Amanda. Yay! It is dragon yarn. Oh, I wish my lighting was better. This is fingering weight yarn from Penguin Soup, who I don't know how she does this, but she is a super genius when it comes to dyeing. And she does a whole lot of themed colorways. And so this was from her Hobbit themed colors. And this one is Smog, which is awesome because I love the Hobbit and I love dragons. I actually like dragons more than the Hobbit, but Smog is like the most legit dragon in existence. It is 430 yards, and the base is called Tuxedo Glitz, and it is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina, whatever that is. And it is great. I don't know if you can see. You have to go to her website and look at her pictures because it's gorgeous. Like there's this like yellowy peachy orange, and it's all like lighter oranges on this end, and then down here there's like this excellent chocolate. And what I don't know if you can see is that there is gold, shiny, glittery stuff in all of it. So there's this like dark like orange chocolate, but it's got gold flecks in it. And then you get up here to this like rust red with the gold flecks, and like the fire dragon red with the shiny sparkly is all throughout all of the colors. And it is amazing. I don't usually do shiny sparkle yarn, but it is appropriate for smog. And that's not all. It came with a coordinating stitch marker. And this is officially my favorite stitch marker that I own. Can you see that? It's a dragon! I don't know if you can see it. It is a dragon stitch marker. It is so cool. Maybe it'll look better like this. Dragon! Thank you so much, Amanda! I already know what I'm going to make with this, I think. But I'm not going to tell you yet because one, I think, and two, I have no right to cast this on anytime soon. I need to finish stuff first. If I tell you what I'm going to knit with this with, I would have cast it on by the next episode because I have no self-control. It's gorgeous. I actually had to hide it under a blanket so I wouldn't wind it into a ball before showing you the skein. That's horrible, right? Because you know the moment I wind it into a ball, I'm going to swatch with it. And then once I've swatched with it, I'll pick a needle size for my project. And then I'll start the project. And then I'll have 2 lace projects going in addition to everything else. It would be bad. Anyway, that's the end of my episode, I think. I hope. I hope you enjoyed a little dose of my craziness. And thanks for watching. Like, comment, go check out my show notes if you're interested in details about anything I've mentioned. And bye.